Okay, hey guys, this is one of those videos that I just felt extremely inclined to record. I literally did not want to record a video tonight, but these things, I'm telling you, it just flows to me. The information just comes to me, and it's like I don't have an option but to share it. Like, there's no other option that this is what I have to do. And it's kind of funny that I'm saying there's no other option because in this video, I want to talk about how I believe that our idea of entropy is wrong. And I know that's like completely going against a law of thermodynamics. I don't think entropy itself is wrong per se. It's just our perception or understanding of it is not right. And I know everyone's perception again can be different, so just take this with a grain of salt, but this is just the way that I'm receiving it as like in downloaded information. Again, I receive downloads through like channel messages. I am like in direct contact with my higher self. I receive messages very quickly, especially when I'm in a very relaxed state like I have been today. I've been in a very good mood. I know I'm on a higher frequency. I can literally feel it. So anyways, again, if you don't believe in this stuff, you don't have to, but I'm just going to get into this in this video. But essentially, if you watch my other videos on Einstein's theory of relativity, I did talk about how we move through time and how time really moves through us. We don't really so much move through time, as in you can move faster or slower through time based on your frequency, really, and to raise your frequency is really to just stay in a state of, first off, like neutrality, really, is all it is. So basically, a state of neutrality will start to raise your vibration, which is basically a state of non reactiveness, as in like acceptance, total acceptance of everything going on around you, happening around you. Basically, being, what was the word that I used earlier? Like open to it. Um, allowing, a state of allowing, basically. So being in a state of allowing everything around you, like my cat climbing on me right now, like it's just happening. Being in this state will start to raise your frequency because basically, as I talked about, like a pendulum in my other video, swinging back and forth, like the midpoint is going to be where the most energy comes from. And if you can stay in this neutral energy, you start going kind of like side to side like this. And I like to think of it like a circle. Eventually, the pendulum gets enough strength that it can go all the way around the circle. And basically, you can think of that like moving through a cycle or moving through a situation. You can also think of it kind of like time, like a clock, and how fast you move through time. Again, sorry, my cat's climbing all over me. I'm just trying to accept this, but this video is going to be very random, and that's kind of funny because again, I'm talking about entropy in this video. But okay, sorry, my mind's going like a million miles a minute. But if you want to learn more about my stuff about Einstein's theory of relativity, what I talked about, I would definitely recommend my last videos that have like, you'll see it in the thumbnails, like the stuff that I was talking about with time. But really, so how it works with time is that like the higher your frequency, the faster that you begin to move through time. So the faster you begin to move through your experiences. So your experiences that you're going to have here are already, like they're already planned out for you. Like your higher self has already chosen the experiences it wants you to experience, or the universe has already decided, like you believe that you are deciding, but really they've already been decided for you, and you are just basically reacting sort of to those decisions. But so the higher your frequency is really how much you can just be accepting of what's going on around you, because what's happening around you is actually exactly what's meant to be happening. Everything that happens in your reality is happening in the way it's supposed to, unless we begin to assume that it is not. We begin to assume that something is wrong, and in that case we start putting limiting beliefs in our way. And when we put limiting beliefs in our way, what we do is really just slow down time. We slow down ourselves. And so instead of moving towards our desires very easily as we were meant to, now we slow down time and we are going to push our desires further into the future. We push things we were meant to experience further in the future, and then we wonder why we are stuck. And so this goes back to entropy as well. So they talk about entropy as being basically everything that can go wrong will go wrong. That's one of, I don't know, Murphy's Law or something. I don't know, I was reading about this. And then with entropy, you know, it basically says that everything eventually just keeps getting worse. So in all the stuff that I was reading about it, they were saying like we basically have to put in effort to keep things from getting disorganized. Just like they say you have to keep your house clean, like you have to do this to keep this organized and blah, blah, blah. But I'm kind of like, even in one of these sentences here that I was reading, they said you basically have to try and work against the waves that are coming at you. And I'm like, my whole theory has been based on riding the wave. Why would you go against a wave? That doesn't make any sense. When you smash into a wave, what happens? Like, you get knocked over, you spin around under the water. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So when I look at entropy, this whole time we've been looking at it so wrong. We think that organization is having everything tightly organized into this little box. Like, if you think of a bunch of circles, like, I don't know if I can put an example on the screen in this video, just a bunch of little circles, like gas particles and like solid particles in this example. So think of like solid particles that are all closely packed together. And then think of entropy. They show an example of particles spaced apart. But what's interesting is that solid particles are the ones that are close together and they're barely moving. Like, they're just they're slowly moving, right? Those are the slowest moving particles. They're packed together, they're not really doing anything. But then we have gas particles over here. They're moving so fast, like this. And you know what's crazy is that when you look at like the universe, and then you look at us as like solids, it's like the same thing. The universe works at such a high speed, like we can't even see the things because they're moving so quickly. Like the universe, so when I say the universe, I'm talking about like imagination. It moves at like that kind of speed. You can think of your imagination like gas particles. Like if you were to look at it, like it would be like gas particles, whereas we are moving as like a solid, basically. Like, we're moving so slow compared to our imagination. So we want to basically speed up our reality and experience more things that we want to experience, because the things you're seeing in your imagination as desires are actually things you're meant to experience. If we want to speed up, then we have to match the speed of imagination. And to do that, to match the speed of imagination, again, I'm using all these examples here. There's like science, I'm sure, behind this, but I just want to get the concept across in this video and I'll figure it out later. But basically, if we want to get to experiencing our desires more quickly, we have to raise our frequency to the same level as imagination, which basically means being in this allowing state. Because every time that you try to resist what's going on in reality, you're just slowing down your speed and you're slowing down the rate that you're going to experience the things you want to experience. So in all this time that we're trying to organize our reality and we're trying to put things back in place, we're actually causing disorganization. So we think that entropy is like messy, it's disorganization, it's things shouldn't be happening this way because it's random. But what if it wasn't random at all? What if it's just at a higher understanding that our human brain can't figure out? We're trying to understand something that has to do with the universe at a human ego level. We're trying to put it in this little box. Quite literally, we're trying to shove everything in a little box when it's not meant to be, because it's not meant to be understood. There's this entire working of the universe, and we're trying to put it in a little box and understand it. Whereas, if you just look at it for what it is, it's moving just as the universe is, and the universe doesn't base anything off of anything else. It just happens. Things just are. Like, if you go in imagination, you can just think of something. There's no something that comes before it, right? Like, nothing is based off of anything else. And so this randomness that we think is random is not actually so random. And the faster that you start moving through time, and the more you increase your frequency to closer to that of imagination, you begin to understand these concepts, which is why I receive all this information, because now I'm starting to understand that everything happening in my reality is not so random. Everything I thought was random is not, because I can see this now. Because the way that I see reality, it's almost reflecting me instantly now. Like, I can say something, it's almost repeated back to me. I talked about a spider a few minutes ago, and then there was 3 spiders I saw right after that. And it's been like that constantly now, because basically what happens is eventually when you reach a higher enough frequency, you get rid of the line between imagination and reality because you're working at the same speed. So entropy is really just perfect organization, but when you try to organize the universe, when you try to figure out and understand something that's not really meant to be fully understood, like from a lower standpoint, like you're trying to understand it from a lower frequency, you're just going to slow it down. So what you think is, now you think that you trying to, I don't know, basically people think that they have to put on all this effort to try and fix all the things going wrong because everything's just going wrong. That's just the way that it is, because they don't understand that the universe works in an up and down pattern. It doesn't work like to stay in this neutral standpoint. Things are not always going to seem like they're moving perfectly straight all the time, but that's just the way of the universe, and it's perfectly balanced. The randomness is perfect. It works like, think of, I don't know, like the butterfly effect, or like those movies where you see someone changes something in the past and then everything in the future changes. Like, again, we're not really basing anything off of anything, but just for the sake of like living in this physical world, you know, to understand it, we think that, you know, we have to control everything, but really the fastest way to move through time and to experience things you want to experience is to let go of control. It's to allow, because I'm gonna go further into this because there's a relationship between this and then like things like gravity, the way that our eye is shaped. Like, there's so many like metaphors for this too. It's crazy. Like, my mind, I have so much information to share. Like, there's like no way to just like put it all out there. So there's also this video of Einstein's theory of relativity, and in that video they talked about how Einstein compared gravity to acceleration, because basically he was showing this example, like, it was, you kind of have to watch the video, but they were showing how the pull of gravity would be like the same as, like, you could also be in a rocket ship going upwards, but like the acceleration would be like the same as like the pull of gravity. I don't know. Anyways, watch the video. I'm going to explain it more in a future video probably. I have it all written down, but I just don't feel like going through this all right now. But essentially, gravity can be compared to acceleration. And the reason I figured this out was because I kept hearing something about falling and free falling, and then it was making me think about someone falling down to earth, like things that go up must come down, like that theory. And again, I talk about the universe like up and down. It balances itself out every single time. So something about falling was very significant. I was thinking about how, like, falling down, like we think of like letting go, right? Like, you look at the movie Finding Nemo or something where they're in the whale and she's like, you gotta let go, you gotta just let go, right? And we think of falling or trust falling or something, right? And when you do that, when you fall, when you let go, what happens is you move faster through time. It's like acceleration. Like, Einstein's theory of relativity talks about gravity being the same as acceleration. And gravity, what does it do? It pulls you down towards the earth, right? It pulls you down, and acceleration pushes you forward. So it's like, it's almost like the opposite of what you think. Like, so letting go accelerates you. Not trying so hard, accepting, allowing, is actually what allows us to move through time more quickly. Sorry, I'm trying to understand. My cat's meowing now again. Trying to just, it's just whatever. It is what it is. But I was thinking of like a bouncy ball or something, you know, like what comes down must go up, the other way around, whatever. But also with gravity, like falling towards the earth, you can move faster the closer you get to the earth's surface. And it's also similar to my concept of like the circle, and basically the closer you get to the center, the faster you move. So the closer you are to neutrality, the closer you are to the center of everything, the faster you move. Because imagination itself is like, it's condensed. Everything gets condensed down to the point where it's moving so fast, like it basically doesn't exist. Like time stands still, basically. It would seem that way. It would seem like everything just happens. That's why entropy, we don't really understand it, because it doesn't make sense to our human brain, because we have this idea that things have to happen for something else to happen, and something has to be based off something else, basically, every single time. But with entropy, like in the universe itself, if time is standing still, like at the core of the universe, like the fastest you could possibly move, which is faster than the speed of light, like everything would just stand still. And they talk about like time warps and stuff like this, and this is completely possible. Like, again, I'll explain this more in another video because I probably just sound like someone, I don't know, whatever. But it's just, they say something here. He says, and there's a quote by, it says, British scientist Arthur Eddington claimed, what did he say down here towards the bottom? He says, But if your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for it but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. This is for someone going against this law. And you know what I find really funny about that is he used the word collapse in deepest humiliation, which is really what's happening when you just let go. What happens is you collapse time and space. Just like gravity, when it warps time and space, you collapse time and space because you're moving at such a fast rate through time that things just start happening. Like you start moving at the rate almost of imagination, aka like true consciousness. So that's the funny thing, is that that's literally what's happening, is that you're collapsing time and space because you're moving at such a fast rate through so-called, like through reality, like whatever you want to call this, through your experiences. You're moving at such a fast rate that now you collapse time and space, and eventually it would feel like things stood still, like if you got to a certain level of frequency, you know, because if you think of a line that's going up and down so quickly, eventually it's going to get to the point where it just becomes like a straight line, right? It's just going to become a straight line, and what comes up must come down. Like you're just moving on a straight line eventually, right? And eventually, yeah, time would stand still. Like eventually, if you speed the video up, the picture up, if you speed the video up fast enough, then it looks like nothing's moving. Like time would just stand still. And so, yeah, this is what's happening. Like, at least for me, I am at a frequency that is getting closer and closer to that of imagination. And you will know how close you are based on how fast you're seeing things basically manifest in your reality, like little things you're saying every single day and things like this, like how fast they're beginning to manifest in front of you, or you're experiencing them coming back towards you, like a mirror, basically. But eventually it's not even a mirror anymore. It would just be, you would just overlap with imagination. It would just all become one. And yeah, that's what happens. So yeah, I hope this makes sense. I really wish that I could explain these theories the way I want to explain them, because every time I go to say it, I'm like, I'm gonna talk about this and I have everything I know and I want to say, and then I go to say it and it's just so random, which is great because it's just like entropy, like I just talked about. But yeah, this entire time we've been wrong about entropy. The fact that we think we need to control it is what leads to disorganization and what leads to the downfall of things. Because control, like, it's just like putting students in a classroom and forcing them to go through every single subject that they hate, you know, and then they act out, and then we say that they have a mental disorder, they have ADHD, or they have something wrong with them, or they have bipolar because their emotions are up and down. Interesting. When the whole universe, that's like kind of how it works, because everything is balanced. Everything's meant to be this way. Again, I always compare it to the heart rate as well. Like, again, look back at our heart rate, look at our DNA, the way that it's shaped. Everything is like this. The waves of the ocean that everyone says we should resist, which doesn't make any sense. Why would you not go with the wave? We surf the waves. Everything in the universe is a metaphor, and it's telling us how to live our lives, and we've just been ignoring it all along. But the thing is, you can only understand from the point of where you're at. So this is why modern science, everything, like, they don't understand. And I didn't understand any of this, and I receive information and I give all the credit to this consciousness that we're all a part of. I give all the credit to this consciousness as source, because I literally received this information. Like, I didn't just figure this out. I mean, I have to do some sort of putting the dots together, but everything, it just sort of comes to me. And they also gave me an example too of, sorry, I say they when some people ask what I mean. I'm talking about like my higher self consciousness. I also had this example of what happens when you don't make decisions, because this is a big part of it, is making decisions and just trusting whatever decisions that you make. If you don't make a decision, they were showing me something like a grenade, like when you don't, when you take the pin out of it, it's like holding on to it after you took the pin out and just like keeping it instead of throwing it. And then so basically you just like explode, right? Like, it's not good. And this is where we talk about negative emotions and repressing things, because this is what happens is we try to control our reality. We try to control every little thing, and then all it does is end up ruining us. Like, it's not what we're meant to do. We're not meant to control every little thing going on in our life. Like, the whole way of our entire society, like, everything is wrong. It's backwards. So, anyway, that was one example. And the other example was also a balloon. Like, when you're blowing up a balloon, you know, it gets to the point where eventually there's too much air in it and it will pop. So instead, they were showing me like releasing air, which is like letting out your emotion, or also just being your true authentic self, like letting it out bit by bit, making decisions, small decisions even, or allowing small things. Like, it's basically just releasing the pressure, like starting to let go little by little of limiting beliefs, of things that you've always believed to be true, um, and really just accepting that whatever you're doing is right. It's the right decision. I talked about this in my last video, but this is how we are meant to live our lives. We are not meant to fully understand why everything is happening. And I mean, again, if you get to a certain level, like eventually it starts to kind of make sense again, the randomness, but it seems random, but it's not. That's the thing that's so beautiful about this. The fact that they say entropy is totally random. It's not. Like, it really isn't. Like, it has a purpose behind it, but we don't understand any of it. Like, we really don't understand, because it's above our, I was about to say pay grade. It's above our knowledge, basically, current level of knowledge. And I think eventually we all understand it, you know, after our life here. Maybe we come to understand it for a minute and then we come back. But yeah, everything is just happening. It's just happening. And you don't have to, you can't put it in like the order of a human mind. Like, we can't try to understand it from a human level, or else it will never make sense. And we can't try to control it either, because controlling it just creates more disorganization. Yeah, there's more I could say, but I think that's probably the basis of things. There's just another example that they used. They were talking about how, like, if you were to take game pieces, like blocks or something, they're, you know, maybe they're meant to build a specific thing, and so they were saying, like, if you just throw the blocks out on the table or something, like, there's basically no chance that they're going to end up in the perfect organized way to build the thing they're supposed to build. But then entropy is more likely, because there's so many possible outcomes for it to be disorganized, basically, in different varying ways, which is true. But then when it comes back to manifestation, and where I talk about just letting go, and I did talk about my theory on like the hole-in-one in golf. What happens when you're moving fast enough through time is that, you know, every single time you go around, like, it's hard to explain, but you get a hole-in-one every single time when you stop trying to control everything, because your reality is already planned out. Like, your desires are already planned out for you. So when you stop trying to control and you move faster and faster, like, now you get a hole-in-one every single time, like, an experience comes up, because you have no like limiting beliefs blocking that experience. So every experience is like a hole-in-one. Like, you do experience it, so it's not random. So they talk about being so many more possibilities for randomness, and like, well, again, their version of randomness, like basically possibilities you don't want versus the one you do want. But we know in manifestation, all that's required is to focus on the one you do want. It doesn't matter how many negative possibilities there are, you only need one good one. Just like when people talk about having a good invention, or having some thing that, you know, like skyrockets their career or whatever, or like you know, like a business idea or something, or, you know, they even talk about like they only need one shot at this opportunity, like one shot, one chance to seize everything you ever wanted. You only need one, so the other million don't matter, right? Why do we care about the other ones? That's the thing. Like, it doesn't matter the probability, because again, if you let go and just trust that it's already been chosen for you, then the other possibilities don't even matter. right? Like, you only give yourself the opportunity to have the highest possible reality you can have when you're moving at such a high frequency. Like, again, I hope this is making sense. And also, I found it kind of weird that they talk about all this, and then I was thinking about like our own reality and how we're constantly basing things off of other things and then like trying to predict the future. And if there's all these random possibilities and like it's so impossible for us to like predict the next thing, then why are we even trying to like base stuff off of past stuff or like try to understand our future if we think that everything's just like random? I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me. You know, like, why do we still like assume that we know what's best when there's like a bazillion possibilities we say that could go wrong, but then we think we know the best one? I don't know. Anyways, it's like, why would you not let a higher being that knows everything just figure it out for you? So, yeah, because they say all this stuff, but then they still try to like predict things and tell you what to do and like what you should do and what your outcome's going to be when they don't even know, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It contradicts itself. But anyways, this is the information I want to share. This may come across as random, especially if you're someone new to my channel and haven't seen my other videos. But I don't know. I really feel like I'm onto something, and I have a lot more to share. And I'm probably going to try and make this into like actual concepts eventually. But again, I'm just sharing this because I am telling you this is like the universe or my higher self pushing me to share this information tonight, because I was like, no, this is random. I don't have it all put together yet. I don't know exactly what I want to say yet. And it was like, just do it. Like, I'm telling you, when you get to this point, it's like you just have these urges that are just like so strong. And it was like every song that I would put on it was so funny. It was like urging me to do this. Like, just the words in the song. So yeah, I'm making this video. Apparently there was a reason I was supposed to make it. So here's this video, and we'll see if any of the sciencey people come after me for trying to prove entropy wrong. Again, I'm not really proving it wrong so much as we're just looking at it in the wrong way, I think. So yeah. And eventually, hopefully, some people can help me out with all the mathematical information behind this. And I think I'll learn it too. I think I'm understanding a lot more every single day. Every day, the information just grows. I need to eventually put it all somewhere. It's just all written in my notes in my phone at this point. So anyways, thanks guys for watching again. I could probably just talk about this and ramble forever, but I appreciate your support on this channel as I kind of figure things out myself and share them with you guys. I feel like I'm learning like a whole textbook every single day, so it's really interesting. And yeah, definitely stick around for the ride and leave a comment, as always, if you made it to this part of the video, because if you did, then you are a trooper. Thank you. And I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.